So the next slide actually shows the why, what kind of difficulties they had was different, but was somewhat similar, was different from faculty and students. On the faculty side, it was difficult to assess students' learning, especially those professors who doesn't turn on video and just deliver lectures in one way. They had no way of knowing whether a student had learned or not. And actually, faculty invested quite a bit of time to revise their lecture materials. So it took up a lot of their time. So they listed this was a second, the most difficult one. These are in the order of difficulties. I listed it according to the score. The third was not easy to give a feedback. Even the student asked the question, couldn't really give enough satisfying answers to them. So, not being able to give feedback was the third item. And the fourth was the keeping students focused. Student difficulties were first was the difficult to concentrate, and they felt they had too much homework from online classes, and difficult to ask questions. Even though they ask questions after the class or during the chatting space, but they couldn't really ask what they wanted to know or what is unclear to them. So it came out on the tree, and a lack of feedback. They really missed the professors or their peers' feedback on the materials they learned. So with this background and with all this experience and the reflections during the summer, and we got into the fall semester, has another full semester of online lectures. And these are the issues and the faculty still talk about and they like to address in this semester. And one of them is definitely assessment. Um, I think professors are getting more used to the formative assessments. They give online quiz and they also utilize survey functions. And this is so much easier to do it in online classes than in offline classes, which then, you have to sort of log into the cell phone or the computer and then get in a survey, or students actually write it down and hand it in. So this one was turned out to be sort of a better one to try out. However, the semester assessment to actually give out the grades to students was a very difficult because we had to include a lot of tasks and projects to evaluate students. Actually, last semester, at the end of the semester, I had to spend a lot of time to figure out what number that I will give. Like some tasks were like only 3% out of the whole grades, but I had to spend 3-4 hours to actually get all the scores added and normalize, and that's a type of task. So faculty still talk about what is the good way of assessing students in online lectures. And another thing that we started to have our interest on is whether students are prepared or ready for the online lectures, and especially do they have a proper type of equipment. What type of equipment they use. A lot of students do use the desktop PC, and they don't have a hand function or don't have the camera ready. Students living in a dorm or their independent living space, they don't have a printer with them. So if the professor sort of posts the lecture material in that morning, they have no way of going out and get that material printed because they're not coming to school. And then the network environment sometimes not good, and the study environments also the problem because of the network they have to go out public space with a mask and a earphone to attend the lecture. Improving student faculty interaction is another question. The students who do a good job with in terms of a student interaction, they use a lot of extra software such as question answer platform, for example, Piazza. So that way the faculty could communicate with the students, but then again, the peers could also communicate each other. Mobile chatting apps are used a lot for communication outside the classroom for the short questions, and improving student-student interaction is getting better. Students are finding to interact online. However, I use a lot of active learning of 30 seconds or 3 minutes in offline classes. And those were a little difficult to do, especially the 30-second ones. And I am doing more with like a 5-minute intervals, and I need to try to improve on this part too. So what the leadership provided was innovation centers done a lot to provide information and support, and also conducted research on this online, and also the extracurricular programs where they were doing a lot. It's not as extensive as before Corona days, but they try to develop the online extracurricular programs. KSEE also took the leadership to providing informations or the webinars. And through the annual conference, we also had 32 papers out of 130 presented on the topic was related to the online lectures. Selected sessions were open in YouTube, so whole engineering community will know what's going on in terms of online education. National Academy of Engineering in Korea took the survey I shown you earlier. We were able to get the answers from 4,000 students. And there were many seminars and forums on engineering education in the post-COVID era. So what we have learned, I summarized here, the online education is here to stay. I mean, no one denies on that. More innovations will come through to improve teaching and learning online, and it will help also the offline education too. And online education will be a significant part of engineering education. However, online education will not replace all of the offline engineering education, because the engineering education does require a lot of collaboration, communication, also experiments and projects. So this is, I think, what is going to happen, and I'm interested to see how this online and offline education will balance in engineering education after after this Corona situation ended. Thank you.
I would agree with you that the online learning will not be able to replace all of the offline engineering education, especially the psychomotor domain. Now, let me move on to applaud to what Prof.